Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. I am so excited for today's video because I'm gonna share with you guys my weekly reset routine. And I'm just so happy to share this with you because it has really, I hate to use superlatives, like it really has changed my life, but it's really improved my life. And it's done so in a very simple way because you'll see that it's a really simple routine to implement, but it can have a really big impact on your overall life organization. But first of all, if you're new here, hi, my name is Elle. I'm 28, I live in New York City, and on this channel I share about my life in New York City, and throughout vlogs and other videos I share with you how to live in a simple and intentional way. I talk a lot about budgeting, organization, and making meaningful yet simple life changes. But the most important thing is that throughout all of that, I always keep it super realistic because I believe that sharing our vulnerability and being authentic is the best way to create a space and a world where people feel more connected. So if that all sounds good to you, I invite you to join this community and hit the subscribe button. So what I really like about this routine is that it only takes 2 hours. And of course, you can always take more time to do a lot of the things that I'll talk about today. But I found that having that set time has really helped me with actually doing it every single week. Sometimes when things are too complicated or too long, we're dreading it and we are more likely to procrastinate. But knowing that I have to, get that done in 2 hours and I can get it done in 2 hours really helps me because I usually get it done early on Sunday mornings and then I could just move on. I could just move on with my day. I could just enjoy the rest of my day and I know that I'm like set for the week. So 1 hour will be focused on your physical space and then the other hour will be focused on your mind and your finances, so kind of your mental space. The other thing that I want to preface is that I wasn't always the most organized person, but then I quickly realized that the most simple systems can really change your life, and it's not as difficult as you think to get to a point where you can feel like you really have your life together. And knowing exactly what to do and when to do it, in addition to giving yourself a set amount of time to do it, is really all it took for me. And I can assure you that if you do at least that every week, you'll feel so much more prepared for the week ahead and you'll never feel like things are kind of like catching up to you and you're drowning basically, which is how I used to feel before. So anyway, the first part of this routine, like I said, is going to be taking care of your physical space. So the first half of this video is going to be about cleaning. I live in an apartment with my boyfriend, and every week we do a deep cleaning of the kitchen and the bathroom, which I found that are the areas that need that deep cleaning every single week. So we usually switch it up. This week, for example, I'm on kitchen and he's on bathroom. So I'll start my hour with either doing a deep cleaning of the kitchen or the bathroom. And then whatever time I have left on my hour, I'll just use to clean other things in the apartment that I feel like need it, basically. And again, that's not to say that like throughout the week I don't do any cleaning. I sprinkle in a little bit of cleaning here and there throughout the week. You might have seen some of my previous videos and vlogs that sometimes I'll just like set a 30-minute timer. I'm a big timer person when it comes to cleaning. So anyway, without further ado, let's start with the cleaning and then we'll come back here into my office to do the mental reset. All right, so I'm done with the kitchen. It took me about like 40 minutes, so I have like 20 minutes left. And I'm gonna just finish, I'm just gonna clean up the living room a little bit and just reorganize and like see how much I can do with the remaining 20 minutes. So now that we have taken care of our physical space and everything is nice and clean, we're gonna take care of our headspace. We're gonna go through financial check-in, organizational check-in on like my Notion board, and then we'll make sure to do a mental health check-in and kind of like, you know, use some of that time to reflect on the week. All right, so starting with my finances, the first thing that I do is add in all of my weekly expenses. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to go check out my monthly budgeting video where I go through this budget tracker and like template. I'll put a link to the video in the description. So I'm not gonna get too much into that right now. This probably takes me 5 to 10 minutes every week. I just add in, you know, all of my expenses. I go through my debit card statement, any credit cards that I use, and I just add in all the expenses, and then I add their respective categories. I could technically, you know, add up all the expenses of everything that I spent in a month at the end of the month, but first of all, it's a lot of work. And second of all, having that kind of like check-in every week really allows me to stay on top of my budget, because I'll immediately see if I'm like trending up or trending down. Like, you know, if it's the first week of February and I'm already halfway through spending my eating out budget, it's kind of a reminder to take it a little bit easier for the remaining of the month in that particular category. So it really helps me as someone who used to be a crazy overspender and used to basically never look at my bank account. It really brings me so much peace of mind to do those little check-ins every week. Just being more aware of your money and like doing this every week really makes you more intentional when you're spending every single day, because you just kind of have in mind how quickly things add up. Because that's one of the things that I used to have an issue with, is like you're buying a bunch of things that are under $20 or pretty low expenses, but they do really add up. When you check in with your finances every week, you realize how much they add up, and then you're more careful moving forward. Just like a, you know, a little money pulse check. So that's pretty much everything I do on a weekly basis for my budget. The other thing that I do, and this is kind of new because I wasn't someone who used Notion until very recently. And I'm still working on, you know, developing my Notion board and kind of like getting the hang of what works for me. But I have found that in terms of organizing my life, basically, it's really, really helping me. It's just kind of like keeping me aware of a lot of things in different categories of my life, which sometimes can feel a little bit overwhelming. I'm only gonna get into the things that I do every week. Actually, let me know if you'd like for me to do kind of a Notion tour video. This is a very like beginner and very simple template. I actually built it off of Jenna Hong's template, and I kind of like obviously made it my own, but I use hers as a base. So I also don't want to take credit for something that I didn't fully develop. When it comes to the weekly tasks and weekly things that I check in Notion, it's fairly simple. So I have my weekly to-do list here where I just add, it's very pretty straightforward, all the things that I need to do during the upcoming week. But before I do my weekly to-do, I'll show you some of the things that I do. So first of all, I have this category here that I named things that make me happy. This is not really productivity based at all. So just some things that I like to keep track of that I'm intentionally promoting in my life because I know that those things make me happy. So one of them is books and films. I have this database basically that keeps track of the books and the films that I have seen and read, or like the books that I've read and the films that I've seen. So my reading goal for 2025 is reading 15 books. I've been reading a lot more since the end of last year, and I feel very confident that I can reach that goal. So far though, I have only read one book that took me a really long time to read, which was Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, which I really loved, by the way, but it was a little bit long. So I might incorporate some shorter books in that throughout the year as well. The book that I started reading right now, that I literally started reading a couple days ago, is Play As It Lays by Joan Didion. It's like a literary fiction. I'll tell you guys more about it once I'm done reading it, but it's basically about Hollywood, the world of Hollywood in the 1970s, and like it talks about like women and their experience in that world at that time. Apparently it's a little bit dark. I don't know, I'm just starting it, so we'll see. But I've seen some reviews online that says it's a little bit dark, so we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated. And then one other thing that makes me really happy is watching films and movies and like really high quality series and shows. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just kind of like that person who will like read books and like watch movies, and then when someone asks me what I've been watching lately, or what I've been reading, or like what I've loved, like my favorite movies, I can never come up with anything. I don't know if it's the way my brain works. I just feel like I need to keep track of them because there's so many movies that I love, and when people ask me, for some reason I can't remember it. I don't know if it's just the way my brain is wired. Kind of weird, but maybe I just need, you know, a physical space to, well, in that case, I guess a digital space to keep track of all of that. So every week, if I watch movies or finished a book, I will add it in here. I'm not gonna go over my monthly or yearly goals, but I will check in on my content creation calendar. So I know that's like very specific to me having a YouTube channel, but basically I'm trying to be more organized and get more ahead of my content. And in doing so, I find that planning all of that also on Notion really helps me. Here I have my content plan. This is like all the content I have planned for March so far. Right now I'm filming this video. And I'll just update the status if I'm editing something, filming, making the thumbnail, just keeping track of my progress when it comes to my content. And then before I actually set up my weekly to-do list, I will go into, so this category is called Staying Sane and Leveled. So that includes my routine, cleaning, decluttering, and like meal ideas. On a weekly basis, I'll go through my cleaning and decluttering section just to check if some things are due this week. There are things that are due every week, so I'll just make sure to update the last dates that was done and the next date that is supposed to be done. And then I'll also, you know, check on monthly and quarterly tasks to see if they're coming up and if I'm supposed to do them this week. And then the last thing that I'm gonna do is plan for the upcoming week. So this week, for example, I'm trying to think of some of the things that I must do. So on Monday, tomorrow, I know I have to go to the bank to get some quarters for laundry. I honestly feel like that there's not much I need to do this week apart from work, which is kind of nice. Oh, I also need to buy a book that I'm reading for like a book club with work, which I'll have to add to my reading list too. But I'll probably have to go buy that on Tuesday because I'm really not wanting to order things from Amazon anymore. That's been kind of one of my unspoken goals, although I've mentioned it in previous videos, but I'm trying to not buy from Amazon anymore. So I am going to go in person to buy a book. I also feel like sometimes it's just nice to go somewhere to do something like buying a book, you know, I could go to a bookstore. This is something that I could also update throughout the week. I just feel like next week is not like super busy in terms of like personal stuff that I need to deal with. Oh, I need to pay my rent on Monday. So I don't really have much planned next week, apart from, you know, my usual YouTube and work grind. That's pretty much it in terms of the digital aspect, so Notion and budget. So the next thing that I do, and the last thing that I do after that every Sunday is, let me just close my computer. I went to put on a sweater too because I was cold. Usually by the time I'm done doing my like Notion board check-in and my budget check-in, I still usually have 30 to 40 minutes left. But basically this last part is just journaling. And the way I journal is very unorganized in a way, but it's intentionally unorganized. Usually only use like really like blank, just lines journals. And I just like kind of like dump my thoughts. I just reflect on the past week and my feelings, and it's really open-ended. That could take more than 30 minutes or whatever time I have left. I feel like at this point, I've checked all the boxes of all the things that I need to do. And this is more finishing this routine by allowing myself to take some time to reflect on the week. And I very much treasure this time because it really doesn't take much, but doing those check-ins with yourself every week really makes a huge difference. At least for me, it really has, because it kind of prevents you from letting things add up and letting things accumulate in a way that could kind of lead you to, you know, blowing up. So very important, but also very, very personal. I think it's very much up to you how you want to use that time and like how you want to journal. It really depends on the things that you're working on. At the moment, I have been really reflecting and trying to work through some of my childhood trauma, which I like briefly mentioned in a previous video, but it's just kind of my own like little therapy time every week. And I also reflect on things that happened during the week and how I could potentially relate to some of my past trauma. And then this is not really part of this video, or, you know, because it's not just my own thing, but another thing that I do also with my partner, with Aaron, is that we do relationship weekly check-ins where we sit down and we talk about a bunch of things and just, you know, check in with each other on how we feel and our emotions and all of that. So I personally think that this part of a weekly routine and a weekly reset is just as important as the finances resets and the cleaning resets. It really all goes together, and I feel like everything together forms that very well-rounded routine. So yeah, now I'm just gonna sit here and dump my thoughts in this journal. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope that you take the time to craft your own weekly routine, that you keep it simple and you keep it efficient. I can assure you that you'll feel a lot more like you have your stuff together, and it doesn't take much. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.